tuning in to the Illuminations podcast. We love having you here. It is our mission to be a beacon of light on your journey towards conscious and mindful living. In our weekly episode, we bring you inspiring change makers in the field of spirituality, healing, personal growth, and wellness who share their insight and expertise so you can navigate your way to a happier, healthier, and more purposeful life. What happens when your body shows up, but your energy doesn't? Today, I'm joined by Alika, an energy optimization coach and wellness consultant whose work is all about helping people feel aligned, clear, and fully present in their lives. We talk about the hidden costs of poor energy hygiene, the subtle signs that your system is overloaded, and what happens when you ignore the signals your energy is trying to send you. With Alika, she doesn't teach productivity hacks. She teaches you how to come back into coherence so you can lead, create, and live from a place of clarity instead of chaos. So if you've ever felt like you're constantly doing but not really being, this episode is your reminder to stop, breathe, and reset. So thank you for joining us for another episode of the Illuminations World podcast. I am your host, Soniyaa. So Alika, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thank you for having me. So good to finally be here with you and connect.
I know, we've had so many amazing conversations about energy, human design, and how so many people ignore their energy, and many people find it woo-woo. Yeah. So firstly, I'd love to know a bit more about your journey and what brought you on this path, because I know that everybody has a personal story, and I'd love to hear yours today.
Absolutely. Well, mine is a very typical one of burnout to thriving. And obviously the steps that kind of taken me on there are really what are integrative to what I'm doing today. So when I started my journey, it was in corporate burnout, leaving with a body that just said physically no more. And I went looking for answers. And I'd always loved food, but I'd always had this relationship with food of how much of it can I eat, when am I going to have my next meal, and being the go-to person for where you eat next. And so the obvious answer was to start tightening my diet and start exercising more, because my physical body was showing the signs of burnout. And usually that means that we get this stubborn body weight and we just want to shift it. Right. So, but when I went looking for the answers, that was my first introduction to functional medicine. And in functional medicine, that's where my practitioner was able to say, red flag, look at my blood work and tell me what was going on, essentially underneath the layers. Right. So I ended up studying at the largest nutrition school in the world, thinking, oh my gosh, I need to really get into this, and saw everything that I needed to see about food in a completely different lens. I essentially learned that food is medicine and not just information that we just put into our body. So I went on that journey, started my executive health coaching business on a mission to save the world and tell everybody what they needed to eat and how they needed to take charge of their health. And it wasn't long before I realized that they needed more support with food. So I opened my first restaurant, which was a Whole Foods, Singapore's first refined sugar-free Whole Foods restaurant. And when I opened the restaurant, I trained as a plant-based chef so I could get experimental with vegetables as well as adding meat. And then I had my second burnout. So my second burnout was very important, because my second burnout got me to really reflect, how could I have left the corporate world with burnout, with a mission to want to help others and be back in the situation. So I started seeing what a lot of people see, which is, hang on a minute, different environment, the thing that is the same is me with the same pattern. So I went on an inwards journey, and the inwards journey really actually took me traveling all over the world, spending time with indigenous populations, and really seeing that the West were teaching me to look after my physical body through diet and exercise. And the East and all the ancient wisdom and the plant medicine and everything that I studied was teaching me to have clarity on my purpose and my mind. And so that combination of both those worlds, I then had to integrate into not just my world, but the people that I worked with. And so that's really where I am today, in understanding that there's more than just the physical body that we need to do to manage burnout.
Right, of course, you have your energy body, your emotional body, and your thoughts, which obviously need addressing as well. And, there are so many women who are entrepreneurs and today highly ambitious. Yeah. And a lot of us are facing the same struggles. We're so caught up in the productivity cycle of doing and not really, being. And every time we want to rest, we feel that sort of guilt, that comes along with it. And I think it's largely because we had a very interesting conversation on how people don't really understand their energy.
Yes.
So could you give us a bit like information about that? Because I found that very like interesting, that often people have certain energy cycles that they need to follow and they need to honor.
Absolutely.
And very often we're going against that, which makes us feel drained, brain fog, tired, and a whole host of other things.
Yeah.
And in spite of all the yoga, meditation, supplements that we take, we're constantly feeling like there's either more to do and there's just so much going on within ourselves.
Of course. So, I teach a number of masterclasses, but one of the most popular ones for women is called the Feminine Flow. And what I'm teaching women in there is how to eat, work, and move to our 28-day cycle. So men and female, we're all energetic beings, right? You measure a human's death by an actual machine that shows you there's no electrical activity. So this is true science of the body. But we forget that as women, we are moving with the moon. We run to a 28-day energy cycle, and men run to the sun, the 24-hour. So we have women's infradian rhythm and men's circadian rhythm. And so when you look at the workplace as a good example, men entered the workplace first. So they came off the land and entered. So they built the workplace. So the workplace was built by men for men. And so when women go into that workplace, and even when they don't, their whole day is structured by a 24-hour clock. And yet the chemistry of a woman's brain is 25% different in 28 days. So that means if you get a woman to do that important presentation or that pitch in the wrong week, you're setting her up for success. And it also...
Or for failure, you mean?
Sorry, for failure. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
For failure. And it also means that if a woman is looking at her exercise routine in the same way a guy does, where I get a gym membership, I have to go 3-4 times a week, I have to do these things in the gym, I have to do these weights, your energetic body doesn't work to that. So the fluctuations that you see, it's beautiful. There's a beautiful bell curve. And unfortunate for us, when you look at that bell curve, for 14 days of that, the hormones that mainly govern our energy are in the lower point. And yet we are working as if that our main hormone that men use, testosterone, that gives us drive and motivation, we're working as if that's consistent all the time, and it really isn't. So when I teach women, not the theories that they're learning about the 28-day cycle, but how to integrate actually your calendar to this, the foods that you eat, the way that you create your exercise routine to this, all of a sudden they're working in harmony to their body and not against it. When you work in harmony, it's like a fine tune. It's like, those tuning forks, and it tunes you into that rhythm. That's what it happens. And so you absolutely have a natural rhythm that you're tapping back into.
That's so interesting. And when you say 28-day cycle, is it your menstrual cycle? Like from the start of your menstrual cycle to the end of your menstrual cycle? Or is it the same for all women?
Yes, but I deal with women that are premenstrual, postmenstrual, so they've gone through menopause as well. So we don't necessarily use their actual menstrual cycle as such because they may not have it anymore. So we actually can use the moon. And the moon is the easiest way because the moon can teach us as women where we are in sync or out of sync of our natural cycle. So by using the moon cycle, I can say, like, maybe even women in their 20s now are not having periods. So we can use the moon cycle to also govern where they should be and how out they are. In addition to, I love a lot of data. So I like with my clients to have as much data as possible, which is their tests. So some of them come to me with blood work. Some of them come to me with GP blood work, which is really not enough depth. And then some of them, I can work to get them the other blood work that's missing, and we can use the data that our body gives us. And of course, we have wellness technology that a lot of people are using now, like the Aura, the Apple Watch, the Whoop, and all of that. I can use all of that.
And so you integrate the latest in wellness technologies with ancient wisdom of the moon cycle. Yeah. So that's really interesting, actually.
Yeah. I'm very big on the technology.
Okay.
But I like to have both. And I think sometimes we are too extreme on one without the other.
And when you say moon cycles, like for example, let's say the new moon or the full moon, what kind of activities should one be doing during these cycles?
So when we look at the phases, we can move through a phase from planting seeds. Right. And if you think about when you're planting seeds, it's like new ideas, it's like brainstorming, it's like this creativity. And when we think about our brain, then it's very expansive. So this is like spring. And so when you think about your work, for example, you could look at your work like a project. And that project, you could be thinking about brainstorming around what you want to do, how you want it to do, how you want it to go. also your home life, also your food. So if you think about spring, we want to have a lot of sprouted seeds. So traditionally in all cultures, there was always a form of fruit or vegetables that was almost sprouted. And so we can go back to eating a lot of that as well. So this all supports our body. From that, we start to, as that energy is cultivated, a little bit like a plant popping through the ground and raising itself towards the sun. That's what happens in our body. Our body starts to be expansive, more open, more our communication skills are heightened. We seem a lot more confident. And this is as our estrogen is rising. So this is our summer. So as the summer comes, especially for some of my clients that they feel like a natural introvert, I don't get them to network the whole month. I just get them to network the hell out of summer. So for those days where their communications are heightened, I get them to have the difficult conversations at home or at work. I get them to get themselves out there, and we can practice all of that. And of course, the foods reflect that. And of course, our movement, since we have all of that energy on our side, we have that estrogen, that extrovert hormone on our side, we can push ourselves in terms of our exercise. So this is when we will need to lift the extra weight. We need to build the extra muscle. We need to push ourselves a little bit more. And we do all of that, and we start to notice that the energy at some point starts to wane. And as we follow that natural rhythm of it wane, we go with it and not against it. And so we start slowing down in our movement, for example. So our movement can go from high intensity to maybe more Pilates. It might go from big or longer runs to shorter sprints.
Right.
So we just adjust with how our movement pattern and our energy works together. And then we also start completion. So if you think about your to-do list, or think about those moments when you're going on holiday and you're like, I've got to get this done before I go. You know that, right? It's like that. So what's the energetic representation of finishing things and completion? Well, that's our autumn. And our foods represent that. So the foods of autumn tend to be warm. I mean, you know this from Ayurveda as well, the warm root vegetables that bring that warmth into the body. So we start using that. And those, especially the warm roasted root vegetables, they have a natural sweetness, and we can start consuming that. We give our body that sugar that we are already starting to craving. And this is the luteal phase. So we come out of that and we are prepared now. We've cultivated, we've added warmth into our body. We've completed some of the to-do lists as we enter into the phase of hibernation, which is winter. And so this is a very inwards journey. And so that inwards journey should be represented energetically. Our movement is more about presence, slower movements. So maybe we're going to be doing restorative yoga, some slow walks. We are not hitting the gym for high intensity.
Right.
You know, maybe now the chemistry of our brain, the left and right hemisphere are, I'm simplifying this, but they are communicating more effectively to each other. So what does that mean? It means we can put words more to how we're feeling. So this is a beautiful reflection time for journaling. It's a real time to analyze. In our business, we review figures and numbers. So all of these nuances come together to make that beautiful energetic cycle within the 28 days.
Oh, wow. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And I think so many people are often moving against it. And when they do, what kind of symptoms do people have to deal with?
So it's like if you imagine you're in a car and the brakes are on and you're trying to drive forward, there is a feeling of like screeching, like resistance, like blockage. You know, in your life where you're trying to open a door that feels like it won't open, but you're still pushing against that door. There's a sense that you can tell where you may want something and you want it from your mind and it is not happening. So, you know, it took me 2 burnouts. So unfortunately, I'm the person that doesn't learn the first time. So I am
all the same.
Yeah, I tell you, I am like the queen of managing energy, because for me, I had to learn the hard lessons. And you know, I talk a lot about human design because of this, because it was one of the tools that helped me the most. But what I've really learned is what is my individual way to show me that that is not the path for me. When my mind is headstrong on it has to be because of everything that I've read, everything that people tell me, everything that people have done before me, the other ways that people are successful. But what is my way of having success? And when I do that, I push on that door and it just opens. And I'm like, oh, so you've got to be able to know what that feels like inside of you. And that's a big part of what I'm doing with my clients.
Right.
Teaching them from the things that they're sharing with me, that clarity over which one is the door for them and which one is obviously not, and giving them the actual facts that they need, whether when they've told themselves through a belief that actually there is another way and what that way is for them.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think you brought up a very interesting point, because so many people are just trying to chase what other people are doing. So, for example, if everyone's launching an online business or everyone's on social media, it's like you feel like you have to like catch up, and you feel like you're not, you're not up to the pace. And at the end of the day, it might not be the right and best option for you. So what are some of the ways that we can learn to like really listen to our body and like really tune into our energy? Without maybe seeing a coach, for example? What are some of the things that we can do?
Well, I think the number one practice is presence, right? So being connected with your inner world and your inner landscape. So your inner world is your breath, of course, and how you feel inside. So what I find is the biggest challenge is that the way that we are living in a modern day world is controlled by our brain. And for me, I always say to my clients, your brain is an encyclopedia of information that you've experienced or somebody else has experienced and passed to you like software that you've installed. So the challenge about that is that your brain does therefore not allow you to see things that you want it to see. And it's so, especially I work with a lot of high achievers, so they've had a lot of success. So now when they want to reach that next level, they are absolutely adamant that this could be the way, but that's because their brain won't show it. It doesn't have any previous experience. It doesn't have any recollection. So we have to return to the space that is created where the insights that I believe that we get come from quantum. So they come from the quantum field. So it's like when I think about how I grow my business, I will never struggle to have ideas or different ways of how I can grow and expand, because I don't get my ideas from other people. I get my ideas from the connection that I have with the quantum field. There's infinite possibilities around us that exist. But in order to do that, and we all have that, you have to be able to understand that there is a lot of noise and there is also signals. And unless you are able to clear noise, you will not hear the signal.
Absolutely. I always say that distraction is the disease of the 21st century. Distraction is the disease of the 21st century, because so many people are looking for your attention, whether it's social media, whether it's TV, whether it's just the noise from so much happening in the world, war and conflict. And it just gets to a point where it's just too much information overload. And, obviously a lot of us are feeling quite overwhelmed these days about things. Okay, that's exciting. Now, when you talk about human design, I know human design is a very popular assessment to understand where your energy is flowing. How do you incorporate human design in your practice?
Well, I can tell you what I don't do, because I love that human design now has hit the masses. I've been studying it for 9 years, and my teacher was a direct student of Raoul, the creator of human design. And what I don't do is I don't use human design as another head-to-head theory, where I teach you how to walk around and tell everybody that you're a projector or you're a manifestor. That is the least important thing about human design.
Can you give us background about human design first for people who don't know about it?
Of course. So human design is a roadmap to your most authentic self. It shows you through a visual body graph how you are designed to give and receive energy. So you will understand a lot about your unique way of having success through who you are, what you're here to do, and how you're here to do it by having your chart interpreted for you. Now, what we see now in a lot of human design is that people understand the type that they are because they have mentally been given information about their design. But human design is an energetic tool. So if you teach somebody brain to brain who they are in human design, then now you've taken an energetic thing and you've used it as another mental construct. So people that learn that way do not have any success with human design. So that's why with me, I even though I love giving readings, I generally don't promote it too much, because the clients that work with me on a longer period of time, they understand that it's the integration of their human design into their life that gets them result. And what does that mean? It means that you get to understand who are the relationships that are designed for your energy, so therefore you can have more success. You can feel that people give to you rather than take from you energetically. It also means that when you are trying to think about how you do the marketing for your business, you don't go, oh, I'm supposed to be on Instagram or YouTube or LinkedIn because that's what everyone does and I've got to do this many posts a day. But you use how your human design tells you energetically you are to communicate to people and the message you're here to communicate them to. It also will tell you health-wise. how your body will experience health issues in its energetic design, so that you can focus your supplementation, your movement routine, your general living around your energy body and how it works, the environment that you thrive in. There is so much that it tells you. And yet, if you just have all this information, but you don't know how to integrate it, then it's nothing. It's just another tool. And for me, that's a shame, because it's thousands of years of how humans are designed to live with other humans and in our environment. And it uses all of the ancient wisdom, plus pseudoscience, plus quantum physics and biology. So it's such a magnificent tool that can be simplified if you know how.
And I wanted to talk about procrastination.
Yes.
Because that's one issue that so many people face. What is your take on procrastination as to why women, or necessarily even men, procrastinate?
So for me, the main thing around procrastination is there's a misalignment in your energy and what you're here and what you're supposed to be doing. So it can happen in multiple ways. So for example, it can happen in you are supposed to be doing something, and because your energy is not receiving what it needs to do to have that, I mean, that can be food, that can be people, that can be an insight, it can be many things, then there is a delay in you being able to move forward. It can be that the space that you're in is not giving you the energy that you need. So again, if we think about the energy body, so one of the things I've done recently is made a move from Singapore to Dubai. Why? I was thriving in Singapore. I had an amazing year, amazing growth, and yet the small things that I was doing, I was noticing that I was getting tired after doing them. And then when I thought about the next level of my expansion, I didn't feel excited. But yet I'm like, I've done all the things. And that was because my environment wasn't giving me the energy to take that next expansion. So for me, this procrastination talk it doesn't need another time theory, strategy, textbook, do A, B, and C, do that. It's a real assessment of what I do. I call it my energy audits, where we audit every single area of our lives where it's taking energy from us, and we're having what I call these energy leaks. And then because of that, then we plug that energy back in, and now energy moves because it's no longer leaking everywhere. So that's my perception of procrastination.
Okay. And you work with a lot of corporates.
Yes.
How do corporates take this whole understanding and idea of energy?
Yeah, well, I'm an absolute geek because I grew up with a lot of scientists and doctors, unfortunately. So it took me a long time to look at energy from the way that I do now. So I really love quantum physics, which is the science of energy. Quantum physics is specifically a spectrum within physics where we study energy. So and I wouldn't say just the corporates, but even the one-on-one clients I work with, they tend to be very cognitive, my guys, because I tend to be very much a bridge between science and the unproven, which a lot of the spiritual community or personal growth community talk about, but is not always anchored into something that people need to know to be able to move forward. So when I talk with the corporates, we understand that, for example, and I have different type of corporate clients. So I have everything from, offices, small, medium-sized, large offices, to hospitality, hotels, F&B clients that want to get into wellness. So what we're really talking about is a dynamic that optimizes people's energy so that they can move forward. So now we start looking at things like, productivity. We look at health and well-being, which means that you retain staff. We also look at attracting people because now they see that you take care of their well-being. And the conversation that we're having is, where are the energy leaks? So we go into a corporate setting and we see that the energy leaks are the fact that in certain meetings, people are not saying what they really want to say. And why is that? Where is the safety that is created for somebody's nervous system to feel regulated so that the person that actually wants to say all those things can calm their nervous system and know when to hold. And the person that's holding it in and really can't say it feels safe enough. So these are conversations that when we talk about the nervous system and regulating people, the corporates haven't been thinking about.
Yeah.
So there's many different conversations I'm having to the spaces. So how is the spaces catering to our tribal needs, our needs as humans for thousands of years? How do we create spaces that allow people to thrive, move, connect. These are all things that we have to work with. So one of my old clients, he was one of the first people to create co-working spaces in Singapore. And he wrote a book all about these working spaces. And then, of course, it's about the food. And if you keep on putting the fruit bowl in the office and going, we're ticking the healthy box. I mean, I'm an expert in nutrition. I'm a plant-based chef, and I wouldn't go and eat a banana or an apple as my healthy snack. That's so boring, right? And yet, if you give me that protein shake in the vending machine or that muesli bar that's full of sugar, I'm not going to eat that too. Yeah. So again, it's about, if you expect your HR manager or your receptionist or your office manager who is not an expert in nutrition to go source healthy food, which is going to keep the energy of your people going to be able to be productive, then there's a misalignment between what they are supposed to do and what they're capable of doing. True. So where is the training and the support that they need? And so you can see how, as in the wellness consultancy world, I've got a lot of work to do in those environments.
Of course. And what's your perspective on AI? Because today we understand that a lot of people are using AI for mental health therapy and wellness. And we see a massive explosion on the use of AI for wellness and mental health. What would be your perspective on that?
Yeah.
And how it works with energy?
Yeah. Well, I love it. And, I'm somebody that really deeply practices what I preach, so I can tell you my own experience with it. I remember a few years ago thinking, how am I going to expand the coaching part of my business? Because I understand that for me, I only want to work a certain amount of hours a day, and I want the rest to be play. And I want to keep that balance all the time. But yet, the obvious way that you get taught to expand is by more people, take on more projects and all that. And I just knew, because I follow my human design, that wasn't lighting me up. That wasn't that my energy wasn't going hell yes to that. So I sat on it, because I know in my human design, my strategy is to respond when situations come up. So I knew that the information that I needed hadn't come yet. And then AI started to take off. And in AI, I saw that my model that I knew I didn't want to go down all my coaches were even telling me, you need to hire many coaches and put them under you. And I knew it just wasn't resonating with me. So I was like, it will come, just wait. And then AI comes along, and all of a sudden I have 10 years of data, because I'm very systematic with my business. I have everything I'm very process and driven in how I run my business. So I'm free to play with my clients. And here I am with a 10-year database of every expert that I've worked with, every referral, every product that my client needs, and I can upload that into AI. So I built my AI bot so that my clients now on my Concierge program can have access to me 24/7, me, Alika, raw me, and how I am. My clients always know I tell them as it is. So now I have that. Now, for others and my clients that I'm working with, one of the things that I'm working really well with them on is, I build a lot of businesses with my clients because we're working a lot on purpose. Is what AI is you and AI are going to be amazing together. So it's not us against AI. But what you have to understand is, if you, one of my mentors teaches me this and I love it. It's like, if you see that there's a roadmap and it's 1 to 10, then 1 to 3 is you. And then 3 to 8 is AI. And then 8 to 10 is you again.
Yeah, true.
And so the bit that's in between the AI, I'm teaching them how to do that with their business, so that we use their human design, their unique roadmap to create it in the way that only they can. Right. And again, we have to make sure that their lifestyle creates enough space so that we get these ideas from quantum field. And then we look at this 1 to 3 and this 8 to 10, and I'm working with them on what's their magic in that bit. What's the bit that they input into it first, and what's the bit that they take out once AI's done that middle bit from them. And when we play like this, we create things that no one is creating, because if you try and create something without your version of that beginning, it's different. So that's how I'm using it.
Amazing. And so any last thoughts and words for people who are interested in learning more about how to optimize their energy, how to lead with purpose, and how to live more meaningful lives?
Yeah. I think we chase after so many things. And I think the common thing that I see with the people that I'm working with is they had a focus around time. And as soon as I know that they are still working in Newtonian linear fashion, and they're going to burn out. Because
can you elaborate that a little bit more?
Yeah. So Isaac Newton was amazing at teaching us what we now run in the education system, that time is linear, which means, for example, if you were a gifted child, you'd have to do year 1, then year 2, then year 3, year 4. You couldn't go from year 2 to 4. But what we know is now, as science is evolving and we're learning more, we are moving towards more Einstein theory. And Einstein taught us more about quantum theory. And in quantum theory, we understand that we can collapse time, and time isn't linear. So that means that, yes, if you're a gifted child, you may struggle in your first early years, but then you can get this moment where you quantum leap, and then put in the right environment, you skip all of those things because you've compounded all the insights that you've had, you've compounded, and then you get this result that comes out later, and you're not having to go the linear way. And we know it because we know it, for example, some people, when they want to be in certain fields or certain professions, they believe that they have to do a certain education, a certain amount of years work experience before they can achieve it. Whereas somebody else goes to a networking event, meets somebody in that other industry that they wanted to work in, that happens to be looking for someone, and then they get on really well and they went, you know what, let's just have a coffee over it. And then they get the job in a field that they never worked in, but because they had all these skills anyway, and that person was able to do it, so they quantum leap. So how we quantum leap is really about understanding our energy and how we have a unique blueprint in how we are designed to use our energy to receive from others and to collaborate with others. And so we are not getting paid for what we do. We're getting paid for the energy that we do it. And when you understand that, you understand therefore that energy is your most valuable currency. And so you start to honor it, preserve it, learn how to nurture it, learn how to be in relationship with it, and learn how to overflow it into others.
And how can one do that just after listening to this episode? What are some of the basic, simple tasks that a layman who's never worked with energy before could be able to start working with their energy?
So the most subtle energy that I think we work with is our emotions, since that's energy in motion. Energy moving with us. So we start to notice what feels like low frequency energy. So in physics, we can measure energy on a scale. So the lowest frequencies measurable can be things like anger or frustration. A lot of my clients talk about feeling frustrated. And obviously we have things like grief. You know how, if you've experienced grief, how that feels in your body. The highest frequency, I'm not there, and I don't even know if I'm planning, is enlightenment. I'm not there. But where I am most of the time is peace, joy, and love, those high frequencies. So everybody can start with noticing how we feel. Do you feel joy with that thing that you're doing, with that thing that you're saying, with where you are? Do you feel those high frequencies, joy, love, right? Should feel expansive. Or do you feel frustration, anger, or these low frequencies? That is an indication in the direction that you move in. Obviously, the higher frequencies are assigned to move towards, and the lower frequencies are assigned to move away.
Yeah, but many times I feel that a lot of the emotional triggers we face are unresolved conflicts coming from past experience.
Yes.
So many times we're not able to differentiate whether the actual presence of a place has low energy, or it could be our perception to the event, which is creating low energy.
Yes.
And many times at Illuminations, for example, we help people actually resolve the unresolved conflicts, so they can look at the same situation from a very expanded perspective, whereas previously they were looking at it from a very limited perspective.
Absolutely.
That could be another option as well. But of course, I think focusing on your expansion and contraction is absolutely essential. Once you've had the inner work done, otherwise, basically, we don't know whether our energy expansion or contraction is being contaminated by our perception and our triggers from past experiences.
Absolutely. And that's why when we try to do this alone, we are limited because, even if you think about doing inner work, I'm saying to my clients now, stop the inner work, because most of my clients have done a lot of inner work, but they're using that as an excuse to not expand.
Absolutely.
So I think that initial stage is to check in with yourself and your energy. But I do think that people need a guide. We have for thousands of years had a guide in some form to help us then go, okay, but with that now, this is the direction that you move in, because the reason you think or feel this way is because it's connected to this.
Absolutely. And he also spoke about enlightenment. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. And I said, enlightenment is not this long journey. It's every moment that you choose love over fear.
Agree.
It's every moment that you choose expansion over contraction.
Yes.
So for example, if you decide to wake up in the morning, rather than taking a cab, you take the metro because you know it's going to be healthier for you.
Yes.
That's enlightenment.
Yes.
Every time you choose a healthy meal to nurture your body rather than choosing junk for cheap dopamine.
Yes.
That's enlightenment.
Yes.
So enlightenment is a choice that we make in every single moment.
I totally agree. Yeah, I was saying to a client that, I don't want her to be in a situation where she feels amazing and she feels good and centered and grounded in herself and have clarity whenever she's on a retreat. I want her to do it in the middle of the city, Absolutely. The hustle and the bustle, the typical stress of every day, and feel that inner peace. And that is our goal, not when we're, in the mountains of Tibet.
Exactly. Although that seems like a very great idea right now. On that lovely note, Alika, thank you so much for having us, for being here on the Illuminations podcast. It was so enlightening and informative. And for those of you who enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and spread the love and light. Until then, take care, live light, and thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to the Illuminations podcast. We love having you here. It is our mission to be a beacon of light on your journey towards conscious and mindful living. In our weekly episode, we bring you inspiring change makers in the field of spirituality, healing, personal growth, and wellness who share their insight and expertise so you can navigate your way to a happier, healthier, and more purposeful life.